Hello everyone, what's happening? This is Forgo Nation. Today I thought we'd talk about procs, specifically damage procs. How they work, how they proc, how you know if they're procking. So let's dive right on into this. You guys can see that I do have Apocalypse, Mr. Fantastic, and Doctor Strange. And I have all three of them because they all have three different CTPs. The main damage dealing CTPs at that. So the first one here, we have a CTP of Judgment. Then Mr. Fantastic's got a CTP of Energy, and Strange has a CTP of Rage. Now, damage procs or obelisks all work in different ways. I guess the first thing we should explain is what a proc is. A proc is an effect that is triggered by the obelisk. Okay, and it doesn't have to be specifically by an obelisk, but that's what we're talking about today, so that's what I'm going to be referring to. So, for example, this first obelisk here, just a regular obelisk, has an apply to self, immunity to stun, has a poison resist. These are effects that are always in effect. But then you see activation rate. This is how you know how a proc will trigger. So it has a 10% chance when attacking. So whenever you're attacking an opponent, you have a 10% chance of this thing activating or procking. This specific obelisk has an increased damage of 80%, 180% for one attack for 5 seconds on a 7-second cooldown. So whenever this proc engages, it'll stay in effect for 5 seconds for one attack. So if you cancel into another attack, you will cancel this proc. And it will reset itself after 7 seconds. So what people don't understand is, like, say you have a character that does one hit. And they think, you know, a 10% chance of one hit. It doesn't exactly work that way. Characters that have more hits on their skills have a tendency to proc these kind of obelisks more often, especially these kind that say when attacking. If you have a 10% chance of when attacking, and say you have a character that does 20 hits, well, the way the game recognizes hitting your target as attacking. So when you're doing more hits, your chances are actually increasing of proccing the obelisk that you're using. If that makes any sense. So if a character does 20 hits on their 5th skill, and another character only does 2 hits on their 5th skill, the character that does 20 hits on their 5th skill has a higher chance of procking this obelisk. 10% of 20 hits is a lot better than 10% of 2 hits, if that makes any sense. You have the CTP of Authority here. The way that this thing works is your activation rate when HP is below 40%. So whenever your character reaches below 40% HP, this 5 seconds of invincibility will activate, and then you'll get all these little damage accumulations and so on, and it'll last for 10 seconds. It'll last for 5 seconds. Once the invincibility wears off, you have a 10-second cooldown, and then it's going to reset itself, and it can proc again as long as your HP is below 40%. And a lot of these obelisks work the same way. The CTP of Refinement is going to be an HP below 50%. CTP of Insight is a little bit different. Activation rate, 10% chance when attacking. So again, if you're using characters that are doing lots of hits on their skills, or say you're rotating through multiple skills that do lots of hits, the proc will have a higher chance of activating or procking. And again, the refinements, the HP thing, the CTP regeneration is HP, and so on and so on. But I want to really focus on the other CTPs. You can see the CTP of Transcendence when HP is below 40%, the CTP of Patience when HP is below 40%, and so on and so on. So obelisks like these with the HP pool, they're useful whenever your HP is below 40%, which is really not something you want. But these are survivability obelisks at best. Most people don't even use them unless they're just putting on their non-tier characters or putting them on characters for AC, although a lot of people don't even play AC. So it's just something to think about. But I want to focus on these 3 obelisks. So the first one here is the CTP of Rage. Now this is going to be a unique obelisk amongst all the other ones because this thing activates in a different way. Activation rate, 20% chance rate when dealing a critical attack. Well, what is a critical attack? A critical attack is whenever you're doing a normal damage hit multiplied by your critical damage. So, for example, when you come into here, your crit rate can be maxed out at 75%. And whenever your critical rate activates, say for example you do 1,000 damage on one hit, and you have 100% critical damage. Well, if you do a crit hit, that 1,000% is going to get multiplied by 100%, and now you're doing 2,000 damage, and that would be considered a critical hit. So whenever you're doing those, you have a 20% chance of this obelisk proccing or engaging. So ideally what you want to do with characters that you're using CTPs of Rage is you want to make sure that their critical rate is maxed out, which is very important, especially since this obelisk has critical rate on them. And if you can give them with like a guaranteed critical rate from another passive, always helps because it gives them extra chances of doing critical hits. And then the more critical hits you do, the higher chance you will do a critical attack, which therefore increases the chances of increasing the probability of proccing the CTP of Rage. Now, when you're talking about other obelisks like the CTP of Energy or the CTP of Judgment, these obelisks operate a little bit different. Activation rate, 10% chance when attacking. Now, I've already talked about the when attacking. So, characters. So you're just going to be attacking your opponents, doing as many hits as possible. And again, the more hits you do, the higher chance you're going to have of proccing this particular obelisk or the CTP of Energy, or one of these other obelisks like this one here when attacking. Any obelisk with damage procs. Let me see if I can find another one with a damage proc. Or like CTP of Destruction, the same thing. Activation rate, 10% chance when attacking, and so on and so on. The obelisks that have damage procs other than the CTP of Rage are always going to proc the same way. So let's go into World Boss. And I'll show you what to look for as far as knowing when the CTP of Rage will proc, or when any obelisk will proc. Now, I know a lot of you veterans, you already know this, so yeah. So here we go. So we're just going to use Apocalypse. He's got that CTP of Judgment, and this is an obelisk that procs when you're attacking. It has a 10% chance of proccing when you're attacking. What you want to look for is there's going to be a little blue text on the screen that's going to say Activation Rate Custom Gear. And I'll try to use the cursor to show you what's going on here. But we're going to go ahead and hit the 4. And there it is right there. And this is your proc right here. Whenever this thing is green, that's when your proc is engaged. So I'll show you again. There it is. You see how this thing is green? That means your proc is engaged. And you'll see a countdown of 5 seconds every time you do it. We'll do it one more time. We'll kind of run around here. Come on, come on, come on, come on. We'll just wait. Oh, we got time frozen. Always fun. And look. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now the proc's finished. We can hit it again. And there's the proc again, right there. 2, 1. From the start of when the proc engages, it will reset itself 7 seconds afterwards. So 5 seconds of the duration your proc is engaged, and then you'll wait 2 more seconds, and then you'll try to do some hits to hopefully proc the obelisk again. Characters that do lots of hits are going to have a higher chance of proccing these obelisks quickly, and some characters that don't do a lot of hits, they won't proc the obelisk as quickly. So that's something to always think about. Now this was with CTP of Judgment. Now let's change the world boss, and let's just put in Cole here. And well, we're gonna drop this down. Let's drop this down to 50. Hopefully we don't die. There we go. And well, you know what? Actually, we could go against Proxima. That would be better because I did show Mr. Fantastic. So we'll go against Proxima. We'll jack this up to 50. Now we'll probably die here, but it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Mr. Fantastic. Now he has a CTP of Energy. I'm going to go ahead and put a heal in there just in case. Hopefully keep us alive. But we'll do the same thing. And this obelisk procs the same exact way as the CTP of Judgment. 10% chance of when attacking. So we'll do it again. So we're going to hit this 4. And there it is. There it is. There's the obelisk right there. It proc. And you'll see whenever that thing procs in the top left-hand corner, activation custom gear skill. And that means it's procced. We'll hit the tier 3. And there it is right there. It's procking. See, it's in the green. Alright, now let's get out of here. And you always want to proc on the skills that do the most damage. For example, Mr. Fantastic's case, it's his 5th skill. And his tier 3. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and pop in Doctor Strange. Where you at, buddy? Let's go to Blast. There we go. Now he has a CTP of Rage, and Doctor Strange is going to have max critical rate, so he's going to have high chance of proccing this thing. So we just need to be doing critical hits. Here we go. Alright. And there it procced. And there it procced right there. And I'm not trying to run through the rotation, but you can see it right here. It's procking. We'll do it again. There it procced right there. See? And as long as it's in the green, that means it's procking. Now, with the CTP of Rage and the CTP of Judgment, your 5-second proc stays engaged the entire time. You do not cancel it when you go into other skills. However, with the CTP of Energy, with the regular Obelisk, they will cancel after you do one attack. So let me show you that right now. So we'll switch this out. And we'll put Mr. Fantastic in. He's got a CTP of Energy. Here we go. Well, actually, you're not going to know because, okay, so here's another difference between the CTP of Energy and a regular Obelisk. Or the CTPs and a regular Obelisk. CTPs, no matter what, they always show the countdown even if you cancel the skill. So there the proc engaged, right? But you still see the countdown. You still see it, but that proc is not engaged once I go into another skill. So I'm going to hit the 2, and now I'm not getting that proc. Oh, I just died. That's a bummer. Okay. Now let me show you what happens when you use a regular Obelisk. Let's see here. Regular Obelisk, we need somebody like War Machine. No. There we go. We'll just put her in there for fun. Now, our Warpath, I call him War Machine, but Warpath here, he has a regular damage proc Obelisk. So watch what happens here. We're going to hit the 5th skill. There's the proc. Now watch what happens. Boom. The green is gone. It's gone. It disengaged. We'll do it again. There it is. Now we're going to hit the 4. And boom. It's gone. The green's gone. It disengaged. So whenever you use an obelisk that are not CTPs, this countdown will disappear after you go into another skill. However, when you're using all the CTPs, the countdown will show at all times. So when you're playing with a CTP of Energy, even though you're canceling the proc once you go into another skill after it's activated, you still can see the countdown here, and you still know when you're going to have a good idea of when it's going to proc again. So it actually makes it a lot easier using the CTP of Energy with the damage proc versus regular Obelisk without damage proc. Because with regular Obelisk, because this here disappears, you have to count in your head that 7 seconds from the time that this proc starts. When the proc starts, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to hit your skill and hopefully hit the proc again. So it's way trickier without using a CTP to keep the proc where it belongs. So hopefully this helps some of you out as far as understanding procs and how they work and when to know if they are working or not. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one.